Mr. Chairman.
Chair Bettencourt.
Thank you for your testimony. I've got a few questions. You mentioned that you have a long-standing relationship with Texas customers. How do you value the Permian Basin at this point in time compared to maybe a solar project in the same area? How would that be scored by BlackRock?
Thank you so much for this question, Senator. So actually, just in June of this year, we financed the Wink to Webster, $45 million. And we are just, I have to note, we are really proud of our performance for the Texas institutions who have entrusted us with their money. I'll just, if I may, just give you one example. For one client, one account that we run for them has produced over $2 billion, about $2 billion of returns in less than 10 years.
I figured you would be. So my question is, you heard the testimony of Bigelow earlier. Has BlackRock ever encouraged anyone to tweet out ESG-related ideas before you would help them underwrite a project?
No, sir, and just we are not a bank, sir.
Well, I know, but I mean,
no.
In any scoring activity that you have ever done, because you've made tried to make a point to Chairman Hughes that the customers make all the commitments. You're just really there as a kind of a service provider.
So we have both retail funds, like our open-ended funds, our exchange-traded funds, and we also have private funds, and we run institutional accounts as well. For our institutional clients, they have investment guidelines and mandates, and this is how we run their investments. For all our retail funds, all of that, their strategies, objectives, holdings, very transparent and public.
Okay, so, but, joining Climate Action 100 seems to be a demonstrative step towards taking a view of as a corporate entity, is it not?
Sir, when we joined Climate Action 100, there is a letter that we have, and it's on our public website, to make clear that we are independent. We do not make commitments with investments or voting that is outside our own fiduciary. We do it independently. We do not coordinate. We do not commit. That letter is on the website. It is public, and I do believe it was provided to the committee as well.
So if we looked at BlackRock's relationship with their customers, you're saying there's absolutely no bias for an energy project in the Permian Basin versus a solar project. You have absolutely no bias at all. The Climate 100 has no effect on your recommendations to either your retail clients or your corporate clients.
Senator, we invest across the chain of energy, oil, gas.
For an answer to my question, not I know how you invest things across the chain. I'm asking a question about bias. So because you joined Climate 100, you've made many demonstrative statements on your website, you're saying that you have absolutely no bias and you don't have any tilting towards an ESG score whatsoever.
Senator, we have one bias, and that's to get the best risk-adjusted returns for our clients. That is our bias.
Okay, if that's the case, then if you weren't using an ESG scoring, you were ranked 5th out of 12th in an annualized rating in Florida. How much higher do you think your ratings would be if you hadn't used ESG in Florida?
Sir, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, the question is really simple. That you're out of 12 firms that Florida uses, you were ranked 5th on a 1 and 3 and 5 year analyzed return basis. So if you weren't using an ESG scoring, how much higher do you think you would have been than 5th out of 12? Because you are the largest company, apparently. So why were you not number 1?
Sir, we do not use ESG scoring for our investments. For some of our clients have asked us to note the ESG score for the funds that we manage. We publish that. We use ESG integration for our active investments, but that's not ESG scoring.
Well, then why were you fired in Florida? Why did Governor DeSantis fire you on a $2 billion investment? And why did the Florida state recommend that all $13 billion of their investments not be placed with BlackRock? All the literature I see, it's all about ESG.
Senator, respectfully, we actually don't know why we were fired when we were performing really well for the state of Florida. We did not have the opportunity, for which we are really grateful here. Our engagement with the state of Texas has been fantastic, and we did not have that opportunity. We were a very well-performing manager for that account, and we are proud of our performance.
5th out of 12th is above average. I would not consider it well. Okay? So, again, my question is, you're saying that you have no idea why you're fired at Florida, even though all the financial literature that I see, all the periodic literature I see, it's all about ESG. And you say you have absolutely no knowledge of why you were fired from working with the state of Florida.
Senator, we performed very well for the state of Florida, and we are proud of our performance right here in the state of Texas for our clients.
I can mathematically tell you that 5th out of 12 is slightly above average, which is 6. So you're slightly above average. You keep referring yourself as well. You're not first. You're not second. You're not third and first in 3 and 5 year annualizations. You're 5th out of 12. So again, I disagree completely with the characterization of well. And again, I go back to my question. Everything I read about this decision is about ESG. So if you didn't have ESG, if you didn't take it into account, A, why are you being fired? And B, why are you just barely above average on an annualized basis in Florida investments?
Senator, for one Texas client that just publicly put out the results for their board.
I'm asking about Texas. I'm asking about Florida. Answer my question, please.
I will, sir, but if you would just allow me to finish, I'd truly appreciate it, sir, if I can, just to put it in context, if I may.
If it's somehow germane, I'd love to hear it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So for one Texas client that just put out its board materials, not only did we outperform the benchmark, we were the best manager for every peer.
Ma'am, with all due respect, I'm not asking about Texas right now. I'm asking about Florida. You've been fired. You were 5th out of 12. 5th out of 12 on an annualized basis, which is underperforming by any stretch that I can understand from the standpoint of your company's resources and expertise. And it's not well. And clearly, all the literature, both financial and popular, say it's about ESG. And you're saying you don't understand why you're fired, nor do you understand any of the actions that the state of Florida has taken.
Sir, we performed for the state of Florida. We performed well for the state of Florida. We delivered investment performance for the state of Florida, and we ran those investments in according with their mandates. That's what we do.
Okay, so their mandates let you be 5th out of 12. That's what you're saying, because that's your annualized ranking in Florida.
So we produce results, concrete results in our management.
The bottom line is you have no idea why you were fired and no understanding of how it relates to ESG, because that was your earlier testimony.
Sir,
Was your earlier testimony that you had no idea why you've been fired by the state of Florida? Yes or no? Because I've got a holographic memory. I don't need to run the tape back.
Sir, we do not know why we were fired when we were performing for the state of Florida.
Thank
Correct.
you very much for your testimony. One last thing.
Senator Bettencourt, one more.
I'd like for the committee to hear from the public statement of the Florida's Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy Petronas, because the witness says that she's completely clueless as to why BlackRock has been eliminated from the state of Florida's financial operation. And it's a very long statement, but I'll read one paragraph because I think it's important. Whether stakeholder capitalism or ESG standards are being pushed by BlackRock for ideological reasons or to develop social credit ratings, the effect is to avoid dealing with the messiness of democracy. I think it's undemocratic of a major asset managers to use their power to influence social outcomes. If Mr. Fink, that's paraphrased, or his friends on Wall Street want to change the world, run for office, start a nonprofit, using our cash, however, to fund BlackRock's social engineering project is not something Florida ever signed up for. It's got nothing to do with maximizing returns, and is the opposite of what an asset manager is paid to do. Florida's Treasury Division is divesting from BlackRock because they have openly stated they've got other goals than producing returns. You are a highly placed person to work for CEO. You have no idea until now what the state of Florida's CFO said of why you were fired. This is, by the way, dated December 1st, 2022.
Respectfully, Senator, I had seen that.
Then why did earlier you say you had no idea why you've been fired by Florida? Why was BlackRock was fired by Florida if you'd seen this?
Sir, I have no idea why we were fired by Florida because we have been producing investment returns. Returns matter, and returns is what we do, and our returns are out there. Our performance is out there. 89% of our active fixed incomes performed above peers. 89% for 5 years.
Just so we're clear, and good question. We're going to get to that. The peers are often European companies. Let's talk about this just as we go forward, just so we can have a real dialogue and really listen to each other in both ways. Senator Bettencourt has hit on a very important point, and it reminds us of what you and I engaged with earlier. The CFO for the state of Florida said, here's why we fired BlackRock. He just read it, and you said you'd read that before, but you told us you don't know why Florida fired you. That's a problem. It seems, respectfully, it seems like what we're learning is BlackRock says whatever it needs to say to whoever it's talking to at the time. That's what we're experiencing today.
Senator, the research I've had, I think the treasurers, and in the case of other states, Louisiana, Missouri, pulled $500 million from BlackRock in October and $794 million from Louisiana. And I think the Florida CFO used his specific ability to pull remove $600 million from BlackRock. Then he put a custodial freeze of 1.43 million on the billion on the remainder. But the witness might know better than I did. I'm just reading periodic literatures and being stunned by the fact that she didn't know that there was what the issues were in Florida until we read the press release to her.
Yeah. Do you know if they took legislative action, or was this a action by the executive branch or by their retirement systems or their funding systems?
Thank you for the question. I believe this was by the comptroller, and I am very aware of what he published. I am not aware of why he did what he did, given that we were a well-performing manager on behalf of that account.
Senator Bettencourt had one, and then we'll come back to Senator Colcourt. Senator Bettencourt.
I just want to say something to the audience here today. There's no fact or supposition of fact that managing down a coal plant means to shut it down. There were workers here this morning. I wish they were here today, this afternoon, because I would say it to you, Senator, that I will do everything I can to help you to keep this plant from being shut down, because it's a symbol of what's wrong with this entire discussion that we've had today. Senator Hall, I laud your efforts to try to get a straight answer. But the straight answer to this back row and everybody else listening is, when you talk about a coal plant and you're going to manage it to zero, you're talking about a shutdown. And we don't need these plants to shut down. We have the cleanest coal technology in the country. Senator Colcourt made a comment about the fact that in China they're talking about gigawatts of construction. That's 1,000 times the 5 megawatts that I'll be proposing we need to bring onto the Texas grid. And the order of magnitude and scale is astonishing, because it's 3 orders of magnitude. It's 1,000 more, not even counting the digit of it. And so basically what we've seen here today, then I'm going to say this to Senator Birdwell, I don't see how either one of these companies is in compliance with Senate Bill 13. Ladies, you better reconsider your positions. because it's, in my mind, an open and shut case that you're not complying with Senate Bill 13. And that has specific financial, consequences for everybody involved. And the fact of the matter is that the longer this discussion goes on, the more sure of it I am. Because if you can't tell the truth to a simple question, because you've got a SWEPCO plant that's owned by ADP here, and all the discussion today is managing it effectively down to zero, it means you're going to shut the plant down decades ahead of its economic life. And that's not good for this local area. It's not good for the Texas grid. It's not good for economic reality as I understand it. And with all due respect to all the discussion of market trends and et cetera, okay, we've seen enough evidence to understand that what we're dealing with here are companies that seem to have made up their minds about what we should be doing and in the state of Texas. And I submit that they're incorrect. And that I don't need any more anecdotal evidence. I don't need more direct evidence. I know that they're not following the intent of Senate Bill 13. And I'm going to continue to say it because I don't need to be convinced anymore. I've already heard enough hours of testimony, Chairman. And I think they've been very enlightening. So, ladies, I would encourage you to take back those words and reconsider your positions, because I believe Senator Colcourse is correct. You can't serve two masters here. And our intent is clear. And I believe, back to Florida, the Governor DeSantis is going to end up with a bill very much similar to Senate Bill 13. And with that being said, Senator, I want to thank you for the invitation to bring us here to talk about this, because it was the employees that we are sitting in the back corner of this courtroom are the ones that may have the problem, because they're the ones that are going to be directly affected by this type of ESG attitude that has permeated documents, permeated statements, permeates the reality of these two companies that have been testifying on it. And the question is, do we fight for these employees or not? And I may be from Houston, but I'll fight for them, because I know this battle's coming to our consumers in Houston when we turn on the light switch and this plant is not there. So I'm willing to fight, and I already know the answer, and I believe the answer is clearly that State Street and BlackRock are not in compliance with Senate Bill 13. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.